Hi, everybody. Welcome to the webinar today. I'm Ben Wortham with Catholic Charities USA, and we're going to have a webinar today by Catholic Charities Central Texas. I'm going to hand it over real quick to Simona with technical support.
Good afternoon. Very quickly, I just wanted to make sure that everyone at this time is hearing the information that is being shared. If you are not hearing the information, please make sure that you've dialed into the webinar using your computer or phone, and then also that your sound has been enabled on your computer. If that does not work and you still are not hearing the sound at this time, please log off of the webinar, log back on, and your audio should work. Also, just two things I want to point out as it relates to ways of engagement. You can use the hand raise tool that's available to you within the GoToWebinar. It looks like a little, literally, hand raise. At that point, I'll know to unmute your mic. Also, you can use the chat box to type in any questions at any time. And again, we'll make sure that those questions are addressed toward the end of the webinar today. Last housekeeping note, as it relates to the CEC, this webinar is offering participants one continuing education credit. To earn that credit, social workers must log in at the scheduled time and, of course, be present during the webinar today and complete the online course evaluation that will be sent to you after the webinar via email. The certificates then will be mailed to you, emailed rather, within 10 business days.
All righty, so today our presenters, Renee Brown and Barbara Groman. Renee Brown was a public school educator and school counselor for 23 years. She's a licensed professional counselor specializing in trauma, childhood sexual abuse, and domestic violence. Renee is currently the director for Catholic Charities of Central Texas Counseling Services. And Barbara has a unique work background, which includes real estate in the Austin area, interior design, and an executive administrator for the Deputy Commissioner with the State of Texas Agriculture Administration. Barbara is currently the Office Administrator for Catholic Charities of Central Texas Counseling Services. So guys, you can take it away.
Awesome. At this time, I am now handing over the presentation to you, Renee.
Oh, great. Thank you. So I'm Renee Brown. I'm the Director of Counseling Services with Catholic Charities of Central Texas. And with me, I have Barbara. And she is our Office Manager here at Catholic Charities Central Texas Counseling Services. So I'm sure many of you know that 1 in 5 people suffer from mental health disorders. And a big reason that we went with virtual therapy was due to this number of people that are struggling with mental health disorders. In the state of Texas alone, it cost people $15 billion when people are struggling with mental health disorders. So businesses literally in our state lose up to $15 billion a year. We know that like 75 to about 80% of children and teens who need mental health services do not receive them. And that's nationwide. Children and teens from racially or ethnically diverse backgrounds are less likely than Caucasian children or teens to receive mental health services. So these were some of the reasons, this was just one of the reasons that we were looking at virtual therapy as a platform in our agency. It was just one of the reasons why. So then if you're looking at one of the other barriers to treatment is stigma. So there's often a lot of social stigma regarding mental health and getting those services. Now, it's been very interesting in the Austin area the last week or two, because if you turn on the news every day at 5 o'clock, they are talking specifically about mental health and students just doing some things in the school, advertising different agencies. And so what it looks like is maybe we're getting away from that stigma that's always surrounded mental health, but it's often, I think especially with certain populations, it's still a barrier to treatment. And so the great thing is if you're doing virtual therapy, you know, nobody has to see your car in our parking lot. So that was kind of one of the other things that we looked at is, You know, often people don't want others to know that they're receiving mental health services. And so if you don't have to be parked out in front of, you know, your counseling agency, then nobody's going to know about that. Next slide, please. And then the other barrier sometimes to treatment is just the cost of therapy. If you go to a private clinician, I mean, easily an hour of counseling could be $125 an hour. And so at Catholic Charities of Central Texas, we try to make it affordable. So in our office, we have sliding scale. We also take Medicaid. We're on TRICARE. So we try to make it easily affordable for people to come in and get the mental health services that they need. And virtual therapy can make that even less expensive. I'm not sure if any of you are really familiar with the Austin area, but I can tell you that traffic here is crazy. And so if you were living on one side of Austin, or if you're living in a rural area outside of Austin, I mean, you're going to be spending money in gas just coming back and forth to our office. And so by being able to be involved in virtual therapy, you know, that's an extra cost saving as well, because you're not, you know, using your gas, spending money on maintenance for your car to try to get to our offices. So that's, virtual therapy has been very helpful in terms of saving people cost as well. Next slide. So this is something that we wanted to include in our PowerPoint presentation, because for our agency, we are currently serving 25 counties. We serve a huge area, and a lot of the area that we're serving outside of the Austin area is rural areas. And so if you take a look at the map, the little area map that we included, you can see like how many mental health providers there are per county. And so if you look further west, you'll notice in places like Mason and San Saba. I mean, San Saba has one clinician, one therapist, and Mason has maybe two. And also the distance. I mean, Texas is huge. So getting any place here can take a while. And so with distance and just lack of therapists, virtual therapy can allow us to reach out to people in our 25 area region. And then if you'll go to the next slide, one of the things that we look at for Catholic Charities, we have several programs here. We have our Veterans Assistant Program. We offer financial stability to people, immigration services, our Gabriel Project, which serves mothers with children under 3, and we also have a disaster team. The underlying piece for all of this is mental health. Mental health is a component that touches each of these areas. And so once again, our virtual platform was a great way to assist people in each of these areas. These are often people that maybe can't leave work to get to us, or they have other things going on. If you're in a disaster, you may not even really have access to get around. So, you know, utilizing virtual therapy was just a great way to serve a large amount of people in various departments here at Catholic Charities of Central Texas. Next slide. So we wanted just to kind of give you like a look, excuse me, of what virtual therapy looks like. So some people call it virtual therapy. Some people will call it teletherapy. We tend to say virtual therapy, but it's really easy technology. You're simply on the screen with somebody, and in the picture that you're seeing, it's a clinician that's doing virtual therapy via her desktop computer. But you could use a phone for this. You could use a tablet, any platform. I mean, any technical piece you could use for virtual therapy. So your phone, tablet, computer, desktop, any of those pieces will work for virtual therapy. And And you just need a computer, mic, speakers, and you're good to go. And your clinician is on the other side. The other piece for virtual therapy is just making sure that you have a HIPAA compliant platform. There's a lot of different platforms. We use WeCounsel, but there's Theranest, Simple Practice. One is called something about a couch. So there's a variety of platforms out there that can be used, but it's critical that you choose a platform that's going to be HIPAA compliant, because it's necessary that we protect people's confidentiality, their records, just so that somebody's not trying to get in online on your session. So when you're looking for a platform, you just want to make sure that it's going to be HIPAA compliant. And in just kind of looking at this piece with the virtual piece, the interesting thing is when people are signing up for virtual therapy, we go in and help them set everything up. We help them do a practice beforehand with Barbara. And so she can help them get online, get set up, and then they'll do a practice with her before they ever meet with a clinician. And this way we can make sure that the client knows how to use the platform, and just to make sure that equipment is all, satisfactory. Next slide. So one of the reasons also that we looked at the virtual therapy platform is because we were expanding into other locations. So another way that you could use virtual therapy, kind of like pictured before, is to have a actual desktop computer system that you can set up in various locations. So that was another idea that we used. So we have a parish located about an hour away from our office in Austin. And so they have equipment there. They have a desktop computer, they have directions, the whole thing. It's set up there so they can use virtual therapy. So if they're not comfortable using their own laptop, their phone, or their tablet, they can go to their local parish, and we actually have a desktop system set up for them. And so when you're looking at our map, it's showing that in the Austin area, the Killeen area, and in Brazos Valley, we have technology set up at each of those locations so that people can just pop into the parish, use the computer system, and they're doing virtual therapy with a clinician in our office in Austin. So when you're looking at this particular slide, this is one of our goal slides. So where you see the red dots, these are locations where we would like to have more of our desktop stations. And so we just wanted to share that this is one of our goals, is to have other virtual stations posted in our 25 county region. And this is for those persons that just aren't comfortable with their phone or their laptop or their tablet, or maybe they don't have one. So they can just go into a local location and use our desktop system that we have there. So the next slide talks about, it just kind of looks at our expansion plan, and we included virtual therapy in our expansion plan. So we actually started this in 2018, serving people via virtual therapy. And so you can see that it talks about how many clients we're serving, and then how we were able to expand that. In 2018, we only had 2 remote stations. But because of that, we were able to increase the number of sessions that we were providing to clients. And currently for 2019, we're looking at having 6 remote stations. Currently we have 3, and we're hoping to put another one very soon into Marble Falls area. And so that's actually going to be able to expand the number of sessions that we're doing as well. So this is just our expansion plan for virtual therapy. Next slide, please. And so this was a graph that our COO included, and it was just looking about the investment, like our social impact of how much we want to spend over 3 years in expansions. You know, $78,000 is what we're looking at for expanding for 3 years. $50,000 to combat the stigma, and $33,000 just funds our virtual therapy platform. So you can actually kind of see on the graph that he included that for a very minimal amount of money that it cost us to have our virtual therapy platform, we can generate enough revenue to expand our program and to help combat the stigma that people experience with mental health services. If you look at it on a broader view, because I told you in the beginning that in Texas, there's $15 billion is lost in revenue because of people struggling with various mental health issues. With virtual therapy and people being able to get the mental health, you know, that they need, counseling, therapy, you're going to see a decrease in absenteeism, you know, people being absent from work, which means there's going to be an increase in productivity. And two, that's going to help like decrease your dependency on social services as well. So the effect, I think virtual therapy is that piece that can add a positive ripple effect to people's lives. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we kind of suggested to people is when you're looking for your virtual therapy platform, you want to make sure, I've already talked about the HIPAA compliant piece just because that's so vital, but you also want to, you know, check them all out. Like I said, there's Theranos, there's Simple Practice, we use WeCounsel. There are many platforms out there, but what we did was kind of test drive them to kind of see which ones we wanted to, what we were interested in, what we wanted to use. Typically, those platforms will give you like a 30-day free trial or a 7-day free trial, and you can go into their systems and see what they have to offer. Like some of the platforms will actually have an EHR system attached to them, meaning like you can use your, you know, you can put your client notes in there, you can have your documents stored in there. And so it's really about getting in there and just investigating and seeing which platform meets, you know, your needs as an agency or as a, you know, private practitioner, whatever you're doing. But you have to make sure that it's HIPAA compliant and ask them for documentation that it's HIPAA compliant. And that's one of the things that we did. We requested that the company give us a verification letter that they are using HIPAA compliant technology. And that was just, you know, for us as well, you know, kind of like a backing, a safety backing, that if anything ever happened with a client, then we had that documentation and piece that, yes, they're using HIPAA compliant technology, but if something happened, you know, that's going to be their responsibility piece and not our responsibility piece. And you also want to make sure, like when you're investigating these pieces, that you're looking for user friendliness. You know, not everybody is computer savvy. I'm certainly not. I have problems with this slideshow today. So you want to look at your platform, investigate it. Is it user friendly for the clinician? Is it user friendly for your office manager or whoever's going to be responsible for the platform? And is it user friendly for your clients? I mean, if you have, you know, a client that's not familiar with technology, I mean, somebody can be able to get on the internet, but it doesn't mean that they can use this technology. And also, I think it's just making sure that you have a person over this system who understands it. For us, it's Barbara. Barbara understands the system. She knows how to get people in there. She knows how to get their records in there. And she can walk people through getting in on the system. And she will even do like a, you know, a practice with them of getting on, you know, getting into the system. And so that they feel like they're with their clinician. You know, she kind of practices that with them. And so these are just some things to be aware of, and the cost. So some of the platforms out there are relatively inexpensive, while some are more costly. And we have a contract with WeCounsel. They've been awesome to work with, but one of the issues that we have with that particular platform is there's no EHR system built into it for us. And so we actually have to use a separate EHR system. So investigating cost as well as options that's offered is really important. And also check into the help desk too. I mean, that is a bonus of using like the WeCounsel platform, is that they have a really great help desk. We actually have a representative that's just assigned to Catholic Charities of Central Texas through WeCounsel. So that's kind of a great option. I mean, Barbara's not talking to like 20 different people who maybe don't know, you know, our system and what we're doing. We have one person that we always work with. They know our computer system. They know what documents we have in place, and they work, you know, strictly with us. And they may have other clients, but that's our go-to person every time. Next slide, please. So when you're kind of looking at that virtual therapy process, if you want to see what it looks like, I mean, you're welcome to go to our website at CCC Texas, and you can kind of look at the WeCounsel platform. But just kind of looking at this slide, we provide the link to WeCounsel. It's on our website, or people can call Barbara and get it from them. And so then what we do, people can call into our office manager, which is Barbara. They obtain a link, and the link comes via email. And people can fill out their forms online. They don't have to come into our office and fill out forms. All of that is online. There's instructions online of how to do that for filling out your documents online. Or Barbara is always, you know, there to help get them through that process if they're confused. And then once our documents are completed online, then we can schedule an appointment. We always make sure all the documents are filled out first, because we need consent forms and things like that that have to be filled out, and then we'll schedule an appointment with them. For us, we require that all of our clients, our virtual therapy clients, provide a debit credit card and an emergency contact. The debit credit card has to be there, because what will happen is at the end of the session, the clinician will actually charge the card. That person's credit card will immediately get charged for the session. And then WeCounsel, I believe they deposit into our bank account, yes, correct? Weekly. Yes. So is it weekly, or it's weekly that with the WeCounsel platform, they're making deposits into our account weekly. Next slide, please. And so this is just part of the process that's continued. Now, let's say that we have a current client that decides they want to do virtual therapy, and that happens. They don't have to do any of the intake documents again online, because their information is already in our system here at Catholic Charities. So we just simply send them a link via email, and they just start seeing their counselor via the platform. The other interesting thing about our online platform is that there are things that we can enable or disable. So we don't necessarily use everything that WeCounsel has to offer. And so that's another piece that you might want to investigate when you're trying to decide what platform you want to use, is what features do you like and what features do you not like? And then have them disable the ones that you don't like. And you may have something that you want them to create for you, and they should be willing to do that for you as well. Next slide, please. And so just some of the documents that we have to have, and these are online for us, is our intake form. So all of our clients, whether they're in-house or virtual, everybody has to complete an intake form. We have a client consent form and proof of income. Now, what's interesting is because we use WeCounsel, they have actually taken our forms and created them to be used online. In other words, some of these virtual platforms will have documents that are already created, and you could just choose from theirs. But since we have specific things that we need to know as an agency and in our counseling department, they took our forms and formatted them to be on the online system. And so that was a really helpful thing for us. And that's also something that you might want to consider when you're looking at virtual therapy is, will this company take my forms and format them to use with their technology? And We Counsel was willing to do that. Next slide, please. And so we wanted to give you guys a picture of what it looks like on our website. So if somebody goes to our website with CCC Texas, and they click into the counseling department and they choose to look at virtual therapy, this is kind of a snapshot of what they see. And so they can go on and they can schedule their appointment there, but really what they're going to be doing is, I guess,
looking at the directory.
They're kind of looking at the directory and getting familiar with who the counselors are. So each of the counselors has a biography there. It has their pictures so they can see what they look like. It gives a little bit of a biography about each person, and it talks about their specialty areas. And then the other thing that we've started including is if this person can take clients or not. So for example, I'm the first person on there, Renee Brown. I'm no longer taking clients. So recently we've put a little bleep in there that I'm no longer taking clients. This way, when they call in to schedule an appointment with Barbara and they've already chosen their counselor, they can't choose me because I'm not taking clients anymore. I think the great thing about this too, this piece of it is it already gives them that visual of what their, counselor's going to look like, and it gives you that biography piece. So like for me, they know, oh, wow, she was a teacher and now she's a counselor, but then those specialty areas, because if somebody's really looking something specific, like they've been involved in domestic violence, well, they may want to consider me or maybe Karen, if that's what's on her site, like she specializes in that. I think that really helps clients to feel comfortable that the counselor that they're choosing is going to have an understanding of the needs that they want met when they come into session. Or if a counselor offers a specialty, like with Karen, or no, you can't see our client, our counselor Karen, but one of our clinicians, her name is Karen, she actually is EMDR certified. So it says that in her bio. And so that could be something helpful. For Maya, who you can see right underneath me, Maya is a bilingual counselor, and it says that in her bio. And so it's just such a gift to be able to have that information there, and then people feel they feel confident and they feel comfortable when they can see those pieces. In terms, if you'll go to the next slide, please. Simone, I really appreciate your help with this. If you look at the scheduler, this is for the clinician. And so this is just, we did another snapshot for you guys so you could kind of see what it looks like. And if you look over to the left under my picture, it says manage clients. That's where you keep, for We Counsel, it's set up so under manage clients, it gives me client information about each client that I have. It's in alphabetical order, and it gives me just a little bit of information about each client. If they have specific documents, the documents are tied into that client as well. Messaging Center, you can actually send messages back and forth between you and your client. And then you have your calendar, which you can manage. So if you notice on there, we blacked out some names of some clients of mine, but it shows one where I have availability that I could do a virtual client. And then it shows you where I do have some people already scheduled. And the great thing is the calendar is so easy to use, y'all. I mean, literally, you just click on a time and you can start typing a name and that name will come up. You click it and they're on your schedule for that time. It's that easy. And then you can go down and there's a document center. So the great thing about the document center is it can hold documents that you've requested. from the client, and it can have documents that maybe you've shared with them. So let's say, you've shared some information about, anxiety and activities on how to reduce anxiety. That's actually in your document center. So it's sitting there. You can pull it up on the screen and share it with your client, or you could actually just send it through messaging to your client. So it makes it very efficient when you don't have to go back to your desktop and look for stuff, because it can already be uploaded into your document center. Session billing. So what happens is billing can be, your list of billing is kept under session billing. But what's interesting, what happens at the end of a session is once the session's ended and the person cuts off, you can't see them, a little bleep will come out and it says bill session, and you just click it and the person is billed, and then you don't have to mess with any of that. All you've literally had to do was click a button to say bill session, and from there WeCounsel handles everything. And then you have your session list, so you could click on that and see what sessions you've done or what sessions you have coming up. This platform, I have to admit, it's easy to use. And this particular platform also has a whiteboard feature. So you can have the whiteboard up on part of the screen, and you and your client can do things together on the whiteboard. So it's a nice feature to have. Next slide, please. And so this last talks about just some of the challenges, because as great as virtual therapy is, and I love the platform. I have several teens that I see via virtual therapy, and teens love this. Of course they would. I mean, it seems like every teen today has a phone in their hand. They're savvy. They know how to Skype and Google Hangout, Snapchat, all that stuff that they do. So this particular platform is really, really easy for teens and young adults, I think especially. They love it. But some of the challenges with this is you cannot use this for play therapy. I mean, for young children, this platform would probably not work well for them. Family sessions are complicated because that's a lot of people. And so we do not use this technology with kids under 8 or with family. And even couple sessions can be somewhat challenging. Now, we've had a couple of clinicians that have used this for couples, but it can be challenging with couples. Just because sometimes you do want to be in the room with them, and they have to be very seated very closely together sometimes to be seen in the screen. Once again, children under the age of 12 are not good candidates. And then if you'll look at the next one, this one has some other information, but it talks about a separate EHR system, electronic health record system. We have them separate. And it was more by accident than anything in contracts, but a lot of the platforms now, you can actually, it has a built-in EHR system. So, all your documents, your notes, your treatment plans, anything that you've shared with your clients, most of the platforms now that can be included. But we just use a different EHR system because we actually started with that first before the WeCounsel piece. And a good thing to remember is just because somebody has a computer and the internet, I said this earlier, it doesn't mean that they're going to know how to navigate the system. You're going to run into some people that are going to need a lot of help getting this set up. And you may have to walk them through the process and have some patience. I know Barbara's had that experience several times where somebody was truly challenging getting set up on this. And it doesn't allow for one calendar access. So for us, there's a calendar on WeCounsel, but because we use the separate EHR system, there's no way to mesh them together to have one calendar. So we essentially have to keep 2 different calendars because we are using a different system. Now, if you're just going to use a virtual platform system, it's great because you'll just have your one calendar there. But if you have a separate EHR system, or if you have like a Google Hangout or something like that, where you're putting your agency calendar together, with the WeCounsel, there's not a way to combine them. Maybe other platforms can do that, but not with WeCounsel. And then if you'll go to the last slide. And so just, this is the same girl that we started out at the beginning, and she was looking a little down and sad. And then at the end, she's looking pretty happy. And so, you know, it's just to say that virtual therapy can be a very efficient way to just combat some of those barriers to mental health, cost, stigma, you know, transportation, all those pieces virtual therapy can help combat. I think a big piece is just meeting people where they're at with therapy. You know, we want to meet people where they are. And if somebody can't get to your agency, you know, maybe I had a client that was blind, so she can no longer drive. And the bus system here, we don't have like the quality bus system here in Austin. And so virtual therapy was her answer, because we could literally get online, meet together. I've had countless parents very excited about this platform because, you know, parents are often busy. I got to get one kid to soccer practice. I got to get this one to therapy, and somebody's got swim team. And if they can have the one kid on the phone, you know, doing therapy, can be awesome. I had another young lady that they were driving from one of our rural areas, you know, to come in for counseling, and they were doing that every week for about a year. And so we switched to virtual, and, you know, the teletherapy. And at first she didn't think she was going to like it, and now she loves it. And it's been, you know, a God's, you know, a gift for her mother, because her mom works, so her mom doesn't have to leave work anymore. They're not spending all that money in gas and wear and tear on the car. And she has a little sister that's involved in activities, so there's not all this crazy planning or taking her kids out of school to make therapy work. I just meet with her daughter every Monday at 5 o'clock when she gets home from school. And so, I mean, it's been fantastic, because this young lady has been able to continue with me for counseling services, which is what she's wanted. And virtual therapy was the way to make that happen. I had another client about a year ago. We had been seeing each other for a while, and then she was diagnosed with cancer. And so virtual therapy kind of became her answer, because, you know, after her surgeries, and then she's going through chemotherapy and radiation and those pieces, she was tired. And coming to Austin, even though she wasn't that far away, you know, it's a lot when you're, you know, going through, you know, cancer treatment. And so she was able to, you know, pull up her smartphone, and we were able to meet. And it was really interesting, because one day, she's actually in her car trying to do therapy. I'm like, girlfriend, you got to pull over. And it was so funny, because she was actually taking her daughter to drop her off at dance class. And then during dance class, while her daughter's inside doing dance, she's out there sitting in her minivan on her phone doing therapy with me. And it worked out great. So if you're considering virtual therapy, there's just so many benefits of it. And often it seems a little strange from a clinician piece, like, oh, I want to be sitting right in front of my clients, but often they can't get here. So this is just a great alternative to give people the help that they need. And that's our last slide.
All righty, thank you very much, Renee. We're going to go to questions here. If anyone has a question, or somebody might be able to explain this better, there should be a question box on your screen. And if you type in a question, we'll be able to see it.
All right. And it actually looks like we have one person who has their hand raised. So we'll go ahead and unmute the mic of Lynn Lutz. Hopefully I'm not butchering your name, but I'll go ahead and unmute your mic so you can pose your question.
Thank you. I was wondering, how much do you charge for a virtual counseling session?
Our fees for virtual sessions are the same fee that they would pay in person. So we additional fee if they're doing it virtually or in person.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that response. We're going to go ahead and go to other questions that we have. Melissa, I see your hand is raised, so your mic is now muted.
Yes, I was wondering, how do you bill insurance for telehealth therapy? Is there specific codes or modifiers?
Yes, there are specific modifiers. We do not take private insurance, but through Medicaid, there is a modifier that we use 95 in order to bill for Medicaid for those services.
All right, excellent. Thank you for that response. We appreciate it. Another question that's been posed from the group, other than direct billing to clients, and I think you just spoke to this, but again, just wanted to clarify, other than direct billing to clients, you're billing Medicaid and Medicare? That's a question for you, Renee?
Go ahead.
No, we do not accept Medicare, only Medicaid. But we have.
Okay, thank you for that. And then we have a question from the audience asking about confidentiality. Are you worried about confidentiality for clients that you are meeting with in a less than private location, i.e. car or parking lot?
They answer those questions.
So with the platform, it'll give you a question at the beginning before you start the session. And it says something like, are you in a safe location? Are you in a private location? And then you click yes or no. And the great thing about that is because if somebody said, oh yeah, I'm in a safe location, and they really weren't, well, you checked yes, you were. So if they come back later, you know, like complaining, or there was something filed against a counselor, like a complaint that they did not have confidentiality in that setting, then the technology is able to go back and go, well, you clicked that you were able to have confidentiality and you were in a private space. So then it kind of goes back on that person. And as far as confidentiality, like in our offices, everybody's, you know, in their office using the technology. So as far as like from the clinician end, I feel very confident that it's all confidential here. And I just have to trust that my client, when they check that box, that they're really being honest about where they're at and those kind of things.
All right, wonderful. Thank you for that. It looks like we have, oh, this is going pretty well. We have another question being posed. Do you provide counseling to the homeless population through virtual therapy?
We have not started that yet, no. Although that's a great idea.
All right, wonderful. And any other questions? Time is now 2:49, so if you have a burning question, feel free to use the chat box or use the hand raise tool.
I have a quick question, Renee.
Yes.
This is Ben. I was wondering, with the startup costs and everything, in 2018 when you guys started up, what was the funding source for that? Did you guys look for a grant to get started up, or what was the financial jump start with this, with your agency?
We
just a moment, Ben. So remember whenever we went. So this was a very long process. So our executive director had a team put together, and we applied through. There is a group of local investors who get together and sponsor to assist nonprofit and some profit organizations with doing new innovative projects. And so we actually were one of the finalists. So we received grant funding from that. And then we also, the other portion of that would have been covered through Catholic Charities. But there is grant funding available out there.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
All right. It looks like there are no other questions unless I'll check one more time, our chat box. All right, also in the meantime, just wanted to make sure folks are aware, as far as the CEC credits, in order to get the one credit, please be sure to check your email. There will be a post email sent after this webinar where you're going to do the post test. And as soon as we have those results, we'll be able to process your CECs, and they should come within 10 days after the webinar. All right, going back to our question and answers, we have one more. Do you work with pro bono therapists, is a question being posed from the audience.
Well, we don't work with pro bono therapists, but our office does allow for us to either do reduced fees, or we have a fund that we can take funds out of to cover client costs. But we don't necessarily have counselors that are pro bono.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that response. It looks like.
And Simone, I want to apologize to everybody for my scratchy throat.
Oh, no, thank you. I mean, the fact that you are still able to plow through and not feel your best, we definitely appreciate that. So, no worries. And it looks like, again, just folks, before we end the webinar, we don't have questions from the chat box. I think everyone was satisfied, it seems like, with the information you provided.
All right, so thanks everybody. I'm going to be sending out another email for another CEC for a webinar that the Archdiocese of Washington Catholic Charities CC will be putting on September 12th, offering a continuing education credit for that. So be on the lookout for that. And thank you all for attending this today. And thank you, Renee, and thank you, Barbara, for the lesson on virtual therapy.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
You're very welcome.
All right, everyone have a great Thursday.
Thanks, same
Bye.
to you. Bye.
Bye. And you were so